Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Rabia Mahmood and welcome back to lecture number 30. With this lecture, we are going to move to a very interesting aspect of our course, a very interesting component of the course, and the course is it is the differences between American English and British English. Before this, we have been looking at the world Englishes. World Englishes has led us to one new perspective, that there are many Englishes that are acceptable in the world at different times. When these different Englishes are acceptable, sometimes actually there was a continuous debate that was going on in that lecture. Some linguists, some scholars were saying that only the standard variety of English is acceptable at one time, whereas later on a few gave their insights and they said no, okay, some other the new emerging varieties of the new Englishes, they're also acceptable. They're also acceptable, they are legitimized, and what they can do actually within those scenarios of the world English is they can accept one as the model one, as the standard English, and they can just start doing this, they can just start copying that. Now a few of let's see, we have actually already discussed that very much in detail, and today we are moving a bit far away, we are moving one step ahead, and we are looking at the details of the differences between American and British English, because these are the two standard varieties that are existing up till now. These are not only the two, rather there is Australian English that is also a standard variety, but actually why I have taken these two, this American and the British English, actually the reason was that these we in our scenario in Pakistan, we have always, it is said that we have been following British English, but with the passage of time, with the more when America has come more in power, what they have actually started doing, America has started getting influencing all over the world. America has become a dominant power, so it is a dominant power, so definitely, you know, when the Britishers were in power, their language was implemented all over the world. When now America is in power, now the Americans' language is being implemented all over the world. So now the standards are shifting actually. The standards are not now stopped to Britain only, rather they have shifted to American English as well. Let's see that what is this. England and America are the two countries divided by a common language. Yes, to be sure, it is very, very true, because they are the two countries, they are divided by what? They are divided by nothing, by the language. Although the language is not a different one, the language is the same, but there is a little bit of differences that we will notice, that I will be telling you that are found in these two languages. And there is a sentence that is written in British English, and then the other is written in American English. Let's see that what are the differences. Let's see that what is the vocabulary item that is used, and can you identify. I'm firstly reading the first extract that is from British English. I was waiting in queue for the loo before getting some petrol for my lorry when I realized I left the hob on and the aubergines were probably burning. Let's see how an American would say. I was waiting in the line for the bathroom for getting some gas for my truck when I realized I left the stove on and the eggplant was probably burning. What a great difference is there, really. There are so many words that are changed. What a pronunciation. Actually, there is a difference in the pronunciation as well. That's why I was trying to pronounce it in two different ways. Definitions of American and the British English. American English is a form of English used in the United States, includes all English dialects used within the United States of America. All the dialects that are used within the United States are known as American English. British English is the form of English used in the United Kingdom. It includes all English dialects used within the United Kingdom. Today there are 375 million people who speak English as their first language, while according to the population of the different countries, the American English speakers are more than the British English speakers. Why? Because America has spread it for a large region of the land. It is spreading over a large region of the land. If once it is spreading, so it means, what does it mean? It means it would have a larger number of speakers rather than the Britishers. Let's see that there are some confusions. Actually, there are some situations. If there is some person who is a Britisher and there is a person who is American, if a British person asks you a football, they mean soccer. It asks you bring pudding, they mean dessert. Puts on a jumper, they mean a sweater. Wear braces, they mean suspenders. Wear suspenders, they wear garters. See, these are different things. That a British person would understand one thing a different way, and the American would understand it in a different way. Some other confusing situations as well. If you are sitting on a table, you are asking for the meal. You ask for the chips in the England and you will get French fries, not potato crisp. Chips mean French fries in England. Tell a British person to pick up some jelly at the store and they'll bring home some gelatin, not a jam. See what the differences are there. Bringing English to America. Let's look at the little at the little brief history, that what is the historical what are the historical evidences of bringing English to America. In early 1600s, the first wave of English-speaking settlers arrived in North America as part of the British colonization movement. They bring English, now an immigrant language, to native North Americans. In addition to the settlers and their families continue to speak their native tongue. So the English came here as a result of the first wave of English-speaking settlers. First wave when it came in 1600, so the natives who came, they were the native English speakers. The process of an immigrant language's evolution. What was that process? The language evolves from a specific homeland language. Yes, definitely. If the people are going to acquire it as a homeland language, so it evolves from that. The immigrant language begins to change course because of the lack of direct contact with the homeland. Yes, the immigrant language, the language that is an immigrant language, it begins to change. It is not going to be the same that was adopted. It begins to change course because of the lack of direct contact with the homeland. If there is no contact with the homeland, it is going to change and it is going to be the same where it is residing now, where it is being used. The immigrant language continues to evolve away from the homeland, gradually creating a new dialect. With the process of time, with the passage of time and with the little process, they started creating a new dialect. The homeland dialect continues to evolve as well, diverging further away from the immigrant dialect of the language. It emerges as a well diverging dialect further away from the immigrant dialect of the language. It is quite changed, and the language that was of the homeland, that was quite changed. Over the next 400 years, let's see that what has happened. Between the end of the 17th century and the 21st century, many gradual changes to the form of English language have taken place under this process. They have taken place under this process. The process caused the Americans and the British to diverge so drastically in terms that to diverge the Americans and Britishes were diverging so drastically in terms of their forms of their languages that they are now considered two separate English dialects. They have diverged, they have become diversified so in such a great way that they are now recognized as these two different languages. And a very good example that you have seen in the very first slide of English language. In 1806, Noah Webster publishes his first dictionary and a compendious dictionary of the English language. And up until this time, English dictionaries include strictly British vocabulary. Till 1806, see what is happening? Only strictly the British English vocabulary is there. The British spellings are there, British pronunciations are there. Webster was convinced that an outline of a common American national language would unify his country. Webster was convinced that an outline of a common American national language, a common language, they say, they can unify their country. But then something more about the history. In 1828, Webster publishes another dictionary. 1890, Merriam Brothers, who received the rights of Webster's dictionary after his death, they published Webster's first international dictionary, an all-encompassing look at the English language. Now, what were his intentions actually? Let us look into details of those intentions. To prove that Americans spoke a different dialect than the British. Webster was continuously working on which thing? On this thing. He wanted to prove that the Americans spoke a different dialect than the British. But a dialect that was in no way inferior, he believed. It deserved a unique documentation of its own trends. Because before this, it was assumed, it was said that the dialect that was being spoken was the same as that of Americans and Britishers. They had got the same dialect, but they said no, it should be documented in a separate way. What were Merriam's intention, who was the holder, right holder after the death of Webster? The purpose of the dictionary is to provide a record of the language as it is used by the educated people who have been speaking and writing it all their lives. There are some causes of differences. Let's see that what these differences are. The English language was first introduced to the Americas by the British colonization. Yes, again the same the era of colonization, and English was first introduced by the Americans by the British colonizations. Beginning in the early 17th century, over the past 400 years, the form of the language used in the Americas, especially in the United States, and that used in the British Isles have diverged in a few minor ways. When the 400 years passed, they started diverging. They started getting differentiated from each other. They were different. They started getting distant from each other. And they are right now referred to as American English and the British English. First, as America is such a big country, there are many different dialects. These dialects make American English more complex than British English. As I told you that America is such a vast region, definitely if it is so vast, there are the inhabitants of those regions as well. There are the speakers of those languages as well. Again, the speakers are again a large number of the speakers that are present of the American English. In this way, it is more complex rather than British English. Second, because the entering of other languages such as French, Spanish and so on, the American English becomes mixed and different from British English. Although in the British English we see that there is an addition, there is a contribution of so many of the words, of so many of the lexical items, yet American English has more of the influences rather than the British English. And that's why it has become more complex and more different. In spoken, British English and American English is the same language, but English speaking people is in the use of different spoken English because of the geographical, social, occupational, gender, national factors such as changes in the characteristics of a different language. Yes, It is British English and the American English is the same language, but English speaking people is in the use of different spoken English. The people who speak it, they are in a while English becomes their everyday use language, it becomes quite changed. It is not the same that we are studying. It is not the same language that we found in the written books. The language that they use in everyday life, it is quite different one. Dialects and the accents. Dialects and accents, they vary between the countries of United Kingdom and the United States, and also within the countries themselves. Dialects and the accents, they vary between the countries of United Kingdom and the United States, and also within the countries themselves, they would vary. The dialects are what, the dialects are the regional varieties. The accents are what? Accents are the pronunciations of the language. Dialects and accents vary not only between the countries in the United Kingdom, England, Northern England, Scotland ways, but also within these individual countries. Definitely, the accent and dialect. We are not saying that England has got different dialects. Even within one region, let's talk about Scotland. Scotland would have again so many dialects. Wales would have again so many dialects, and all these would be creating a range of dialects that would be present there under that country. About spoken American English, scholars have mapped at least 4 major regional variations of spoken American English. 4 main American varieties of English are found: Northern, Southern, Midland and Western. These are the varieties and the dialects of American English. The standard accent of British English is often referred to as received pronunciation, as we read earlier, while in American English it is known as General American. Is usually considered standard. General American, or it would be regarded as GA. General American pronunciation. Visible changes. There are quite a few noticeable differences between the British English dialect and the evolved dialect of American English. Yes, there are some. There are the ones that we will cover. There are the changes in the spellings. We have seen in the first, in the first slide as well, and we are going to see in our upcoming slides. Pronunciations. There is a difference in the pronunciations. Within pronunciation, there is a difference of accents. Accents vary in both American English and the British English. Then there is a difference of pronunciation in the affixes. Affixes, again, you know it very well, that affixes are different. Affixes are the prefixes and the suffixes that are attached to the main word. Because of them, there are some differences that are found on the level of pronunciation. Then pronunciation, stress. Americans would be putting stress on some other word, whereas the Britishers would be putting some stress on some other word. Then comes grammar, and then comes vocabulary. These are a few of the things. Firstly, the spellings. Let's see that how the American spellings are different from the Britishers. In American spellings, they would have OR. In British spelling, they would have OUR. Quite true. Previously, let me give you my own example. Previously, I used to write down this color COLOUR, honor and HONOUR, and favorite FAVOURITE. I used to write the things by using the British spellings a few years back. What has happened actually, a few years back, the trend has changed, and I myself have changed. I don't know, for no reason at all, and I've started using these spellings for the colors, honor and favorite. Where I have started using it means that I have shifted from British to American. unconsciously. Okay, then the next is the British. Within the British spellings, we will have SE. In American spelling, we'll have ZE. In British spellings, we have analyze, criticize, and memorize. In American, we have analyze, criticize, and memorize. It's z, and it's s, and s. Analyze, criticize, and memorize. See, in American, it is, in British, it is single L. In American, it is double L. But we will do, for example, in enrollment is single L in Britishers. In American, it's double L. Fulfill, there is double L in American. Skillful, there is double L in skillful. All with the single L. These are the differences, American and Britishers. And I am quite amazed at how unconsciously these differences have taken place even into our own lives, even into our own writings. Because before this, we have come out of the origins of British colonies. Pakistan has been one of the British colonies once. We are the descendants of that. So we used to follow the Britishers, but with the pervasive power of America these days, we have shifted our attitude to the to American English, to the American spellings. A few more spelling differences are: in American, they use ER. In British, they would use RE. Center, meter, theater. Whereas it's center, meter, and theater with TER. One very interesting thing is coming to my mind right now. Actually, if you are doing your paper, you are writing your assignments, most of the time you must not be worried about these spelling mistakes, because once there is a spelling mistake, if you have forgotten to write CE and TRE, it would become an American spelling rather than the British spelling. So your spelling mistake can be covered sometime. Yes, these are the techniques that are used by our students some way. American and British. American, they would use OG, and Britishers would use OGUE, as in analog, catalog, dialogue. Then Americans are going to use CK or K, whereas they are going to use this word. Bank, check, and track. It isn't really interesting that we don't choose this word, bank. Rather we use this American, check, and then we use these two words, but they have different meanings. They are not the same meanings. Some more American spellings. This in America, according to American spellings, it's only E. Encyclopedia, maneuver, medieval. And in British spelling is AE, OE. Encyclopedia, maneuver, manu, medieval. So can you please tell me that what kind of English are we following? Are we following British patterns or American patterns? It is a question, just think about it. We'll come to it towards the end of the lecture. In American, there are the words DG, G, and Jeju. For example, aging, argument, judgment. Yeah. In British, the spellings are AGE, aging. It's argument, argue, we have with one E. Judge with one E, rather than the direct spelling. What I am perceiving up till now about the English spellings and about American English is that perhaps they are more concise than the Britishers. Britishers are more, they are more elaborative than them. American would use ENSE, Britishers would use ENCE. ENS as in license, SE. If there is SE, so it is American. If there is CE, it is Britishers. Defense, SE, it is American. CE, this it becomes Britishers. Some other word specific differences are in America, American language we have jewelry. In British, these are differences. Look, draft, pajamas, plow, program. Yeah, this is very this tire. Spellings. Base words that end in L normally double the L in British English when a suffix is added. Base words or the root words that I would say, base words that end in L, that end, the ending letter is L, they normally double the L. Towards the end, the L would be double L, and in British English, we are talking about British English, when a suffix is added. Look, the base word is counsel. In American, it is counseling. In British, it is counseling with double L. The base word is equal, equaled. It's model, modeling, and modeling. Quarrel, quarreling, and double L. Single L and double L. Signal, okay, signaled, ED simply in American, and in British there is double L, it is signaled. Then there is the word traveling, okay, the spellings that have single L in traveling, that is an American word, whereas in traveling, if there is double L, it is Britishers. The letter can double in American as well, but only if the stress is on the second syllable of the base word. The letter can double. There are some instances of the doubling the letter, doubling the alphabet in American as well, but only, reason, look at the reason, but only if the stress is on the second syllable of the base word. The stress, for example, there is a base word excel. Excel, first syllable, cell is the second syllable. Excelling, so there are double L. Propel, where is the stress? On the second syllable. It's propelling. So this is how it is working. Now the second part is that of pronunciations, and with the pronunciation, the accents. The British accents was created by a mix of the Midland and Southern dialects of the Middle Ages. There are many sub-dialects and varying accents under British England. Yes, all we know. American English was not so strongly influenced by the accents as Australia or New Zealand, for example. The Americas broke away from British control much earlier and were distanced from direct speakers of the language as a result. Yes, when they did not have a direct interaction with the language speakers, definitely they were dissected. They started having their own language. British English is equal to non-rhotic. American English is a rhotic language. This means that R is the only pronounced in British English when it is immediately followed by a vowel sound. In British English, we are saying it's a non-rhotic. There is no R is pronounced. Okay? In English, what happens? R is pronounced. This means that R is the only pronounced in British English. Now, but when we are saying that R is not pronounced in British English, there are some instances when it is pronounced. For example, R in the British English is pronounced either not pronounced or replaced with a schwa, sometimes when it comes by a vowel. American English has fewer vowel distinctions before intervocalic R sound. This means that in American English, Mary, Mary and Mary often sound the same. In American English, they are the same. Rhymes with nearer. Furry rhymes with hurry in American English. This is how. British English has 3 open back vowels, while American English has only 2 or even 1. See the difference? In British English, there are the 3 open back vowels, whereas in American English there are hardly 1. Most American English speakers use the same vowel for short O as a broad A. Father and brother often rhyme. Father, father, they would say the father, and brother, they would pronounce R. Rather than in British language, it is father and mother and brother. They will not pronounce R sound. Now some accents. Some more accents. Other vowels pronunciation differences are that British English is a broad A. In American English there is a short A. In American English there is everything is so short. I'm amazed. Everything is so short. In British English it's a broad A. It's a. It's a. In American it's a. In most words, when a is followed by n's followed. A is followed by n followed by another consonants, or s, f, or t, like plant, pass and loaf. British English has a distinct length of difference between short and long vowels. The long vowels begin diphthongs. Yes, there are short vowels, there are long vowels in British English, whereas in American English there are no long vowels. Rather, the things are very, very short. American English often loses the distinction between unstressed and stressed, as is roses and rosas in British English. It is maintained because of the non-rhetoric nature of the language. Fine. There are no, in American English, they often loses the distinction between unstressed E and E, whereas in British English it is observed. American English experiences a jaw-dropping after all alveolar sounds. For example, that is you. In British English speakers, they would always remain j and n. In the alveolar sound that are produced by the alveolar ridge, by the use of the alveolar ridge. In American English, it is you, j and you. J sound. This is not j. This is not j. This is j sound, j. And again you. You, a you. There is a strong you in that is pronounced in American English, whereas in British English it is ja and n. In American English sometimes it becomes new, nu, nu, and whereas in British English it is not like that. There are also many individual pronunciation differences that depend on the particular vocabulary word and the speaker who is pronouncing it. Yes, there are so many differences that are found. Now some pronunciation differences regarding affixes. Affixes like ere, ore, berry, and money. When the syllable before these affixes is stressed, American and British English pronounce these endings in a similar way. Look, this is a similar way. When the syllable before these affixes, there is a syllable. For example, there is a word momentary. Momentary. Let me write down this word here. If there is a word momentary. In momentary, if we are saying when the syllable before these affixes ari is an affix and the last syllable is moment, there is stressed syllable. In American and British English, these endings are pronounced in a similar way. It is ari simply in British and in England. When it is unstressed, when suppose it is unstressed, what happens? American English uses a full vowel rather than a schwa, while British English retains the reduced vowel or elides it completely. That is, for example, in American English, this word, look at this word. What is this? This is military. In American English, this is military. Military. In British, this is military. 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 In here in American, the emphasis is on tari. It is tari, whereas it is military. Again, there are the examples of the same kind of affixes in British and American English. Some adverbs, for example, airily, orally, these are some of the affixes that are there in that that are different in British and American English. British English speakers follow the American practice of shifting the stress to the antepenultimate syllable. That is, military is military and military, not military. ठीक है. In American English, the stress is where it's on th, military. Whereas in British English, the stress would be on m sound, military. Some other example of "il", for example, when the words end in an unstressed "il", British English speakers pronounce them as a full vowel, "il", whereas in American English speakers they pronounce them with either a reduced American vowel. It would rhyme with turtle, fertile and turtle, fertile and fertile. There is one British would say it's fertile, American would say it's fertile. Yes. Now we are coming towards stress. Apart from affixing, we have seen that how different words are affixed and how the pronunciation varies, because sometimes we are putting stress on one thing and sometimes we are not putting stress on one thing. Pronunciation stress. In the case of French loan words, American English has final syllable stress, while British English has penultimate or antepenultimate stress. In case of French loan words, if the words are borrowed from French loan, the stresses are going to vary. British English first syllable stresses, in first syllable stress means adult, bullet, baton, pestle, vaccine. The stress is on the first syllable. British English second syllable stresses escargot, fiancé, it's on fiancé. There are also other words borrowed from the French that features stress syllables difference. Americans first syllables. Americans first syllable is equal to Britishers last syllable. It is opposite. Americans are going to put stress on the first syllable, so Britishers are going to put stress on the last syllables. I am not defining syllable today because before this we have described it so many times. If there is one that is address, in American the stress is on first syllable is address, and whereas in Britishers it is address. In American the stress is on the first syllable and it is mustache. The emphasis on mus, whereas in British it is on mustache, whereas in American it would be on mus. If we are pronouncing American English, the syllable, there is a stress on the first syllable. For example, cigarette, cigarette. In British, it would be cigarette, cigarette. In American English, the word would be magazine, magazine. In British, it would be magazine, magazine. There is a difference between the stress of the first and the last syllable. American's first syllable is equal to British's second syllable sometimes. Sometimes British's last syllables and sometimes British's second syllable. Look, the word liaison, renaissance. If we are going to pronounce it in American English, we are going to put stress on lia. It's on liaison, liaison. And it's on renaissance, re and lia. These are the two stress words. Now, in Britishers, it is on second syllable. Liaison, liaison. They are going to put stress on the second syllable, liaison, renaissance, renaissance. In Britishers, the stress is on renaissance. Americans second syllable, Britishers last syllable sometimes. New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. In New Orleans, Orleans, Americans would be putting stress over here, New Orleans, whereas Britishers would be putting on it on the last syllable, New Orleans. The emphasis or the stress would be on the last syllable, and these are the differences of pronunciation of stress among British and American English. Some more stress patterns that are different in American and British English. Most two syllable verbs that end in ate have first syllable stress in American English and second syllable stress in British English. That is castrate, locate. The two syllable verbs, these two syllables, we are talking about the two syllables and we are talking about the verbs that end in ate. They are ending in ate. Okay? They would have their first syllable stress in American English. The first syllable stress would be in American. Castrate, locate, ka and l. There is emphasis, there is stress on the first syllables. That is in American. And second syllable stress in the British English. Castrate. Britishers would be stressing on the second. Castrate, locate. It's on K. This is British English. Then derived adjectives with the ending. For example, there is an ending if an adjective ends in atory. It differs in both the dialects. For British English, the stress shifts to at what, whereas American English will stress the same syllable as the corresponding at verb. That is regulatory, celebratory, and laboratory. In British English, the stress shifts to dash. The shift, it is in British English, the stress is going to shift. It's regulatory, it's tree, it is going to shift. Celebratory and laboratory, the stress would shift in British English, whereas in American English, the stress would remain again on the same thing. For example, regulatory, celebratory, laboratory, the stress is the same. Now a few differences in the grammar of the two languages. The differences that are traced on the level of grammar are the differences in the nouns, verbs, tenses, possessions, and the use of the verb get, use of subjunctive prepositions, uses of other words, etc. Nouns, formal and the notional agreement. In British English, collective nouns can take either singular or the plural. For example, a committee was appointed to the committee were unable to agree. Okay, it can have both. It can be used for singular and the plural both in British. Whereas in American English, collective nouns are usually singular in construction. they are singular in the construction, whereas in British they can be used in both senses. For example, the team take their seats rather than the team takes its seat. The difference is coming here, their and its seats. Verbs and verb morphology. The past tense and the past participle of the verbs learn, spoil, spell, burn, dream, smell. These things are important. In British English, both irregular and regular forms are current, but for some words such as smelt and leapt, there is strong tendency towards the irregular forms, especially by the users of received pronunciations. And in American English, irregular forms are never or rarely used. Great. In American English, they are never ever going to use the irregular forms of the verbs, whereas in British English there is a lot of tendency towards the use of irregular forms of verbs. For example, dream, dreamt, dreamt. This is irregular form. Smell, smelt, smelt. Spell, spelt, spelt. Spoiled, spoiled, and spoiled. The things like that. Learn, learned, and learned. Irregular forms. The irregular forms are never there in American, whereas irregular forms are there in British English. Use of tenses, another important feature. The British use the present perfect to talk about a past action which has an effect on the present moment. The British use the present perfect tense. Fine. They are different in their tenses as well. They would use the present perfect to talk about a past action where they would have to see where present perfect tense is used in which sense. As the present tense and the present perfect, it is referring to the past action which has an effect on the present moment. A past action that has an effect on the present moment, so that is a present perfect tense. In American English, both simple past and present perfect are possible in such situations. For example, I have lost my pen. Can you borrow me yours? This is British English. Whereas in American English, I lost my pen or I have lost my pen. Both are acceptable. I lost. This is what? This is past indefinite. This is past indefinite. I have lost my pen. This is what? This is present perfect. In let's see that how the sentence was uttered in British. I have lost. This is present perfect. Can you borrow me yours? This is the use of can and could, etc. So the difference is between British and American English is that in British English they can they can go on having these things, whereas in American English both the simple past and the present perfect are equally possible situations. They are referring to the same thing. Possessions and the use of verb get. The British normally use have got. As you would have noticed in my speech that I have got to discuss this thing. We have discussed this thing. So the word have got to show the possessions. In American English, have in the structure do you have and have got are both possible. Okay. Not only have but also have got is also possible in American English, whereas in British English only have got is more possible. In British English, the past participle of get is the got. Yes, we know. The past participle is the second form of the verb. Get, got, and gotten, and getting. In American English, the past participle of get is gotten. See the difference. This is gotten, and this is the second the past participle. In British English, it's got, get, got, and gotten. And the third form of the verb is gotten in British English, whereas the same third form of verb get, it comes on the second level. It comes as a past participle in American English, except when have got means have. Have got means you are having something. Use of subjunctive terms. In American English, it is particularly common to use subjunctive after words like essential, vital, important, suggest, insist, and demand. It is really common to use, they can easily use some subjunctive words with the words like this thing, essential, vital. In British English, what happens? In British English, the subjunctive is formal and unusual. This is quite formal and this is unusual. British people normally use should plus infinitives or ordinary present and the past tenses. The subjunctive, they would use it in a very high, very formal kind of setting. They are not going to use it like everywhere for every kind of normal use. They normally should use British, instead of this subjunctive forms. What are they going to use? They normally use the two things. The one is should plus infinitives. Should plus infinitives. Or they would use ordinary present in the past tense. For example, look at the examples. The things would be more clearer then. It is essential that every child get an opportunity to learn. It is essential that every child get an opportunity to learn. In American English, it is essential that every child gets, look, that every child gets an opportunity to learn. Is there any other difference of this thing? It is essential that every child get an opportunity to learn, whereas in British English it is really necessary to use it that every child gets an opportunity to learn. And this is what we in our daily life also follow. This is what we believe, that this is a correct structure or the standard pattern of English. Then let's come to some prepositions, the differences that are found in American and the British English. Prepositions, there are also a few differences in the prepositions used, including the following: on the weekend and at the weekend. A difference. In American English we say on the weekend. In British English we say at the weekend. The difference of on and at. In American English it's on a team. In British it's in a team. On a team and in a team. It calls someone at his or her telephone number. Call someone at his or her telephone number in American English. Call someone on his or her telephone number. The difference of these two preposition is quite evident in American English. The prepositions would vary. A few differences are there. Call someone at his or her number. Call someone on his or her number. The difference of at and on prepositions. There is also a difference of use of some other words. For example, as if or like. In American English it is common to use like instead of as if. In American English, what they do? In American English they would use common to use like instead of as if, as though. This is not correct in British English. In British English they are going to prefer as it, as if and as though, whereas in American English they would prefer to use like, the simple words. This is not correct in the British English. For example, he talks as if he knew everything. As if, the use of the word as if, it's in British English. Whereas in American English he talks like as if he knew everything. Instead of as if, like is more of American English. The indefinite pronouns one. Americans normally use he or she, him or her, his or her to refer back to one. Yes, most of the time there is a pronoun, there is an indefinite pronoun, one is used in American. In British English, one is used throughout the sentence. Yes. This is what we have been taught, that in British English we would say one must love one's country. If once we are using one, it means that we need to use it again and again. One must love, one must be responsible for one's duty. If there is one that is used for one time, it must be used all over the sentence again and again. Then one must love his or her country. One must love his or her country. In American English, one is referring to his or her. Will or shall. In British English, it is fairly common to use shall with the first person to talk about the future. Americans rarely use shall. Now, as I was saying, that the shall has become outdated. Perhaps it is because of the influence. It is perhaps because of the power of the American English that they are having on us. I shall or will never forget this favor in British English. In American English, I will never forget this favor. This is what I do in my English these days. I never use shall. And this is, it means that I am moving away from the British English, and American English is having more influence on me. Creation of American lexicon. From the beginning, Americans borrowed words from the Native American languages for unfamiliar objects. They took many loan words from the other colonizing nations. For example, cookies, kilts, and stoop, from Dutch, leaf, berry. These are different words that they have already taken from other nations. They have borrowed it. British words were obviously borrowed, but often evolved to mean new things in an American landscape. British words were obviously borrowed. Yes, they were borrowed, but often evolved to mean new things in an American landscape, that is creek, barren, trail, bluff, etc. With the development of the new continent, new words were necessarily brought in to describe new things. The new words were brought in to describe some new things. For example, in the split level, in real estate, carpetbagger, in politics, computer, in transformation. These are the words that have been added to that specific field, and a variety of vocabulary to distinguish among professions, the borrowed words and the new words. Many words originated as American slangs. For example, hijacking, boost, jazz, etc. These are the slangs that have emerged, that have originated. Some examples of vocabulary items. American and British English sometimes have different words for the same meanings. Yes, this is again another important area of differences between American and British English, that Americans would call it apartment and Britishers would call it flat. For Americans it is argument, for Britishers it is row. For Americans it is carriage or coach, for Britishers it is pram. For Americans it is bathroom, for Britishers it is loo. For Americans it is can, whereas for Britishers the word is tin. Americans it is cookies and Britishers it is biscuit. And for Americans it is diaper and for Britishers it is nappy. For Americans it is elevator and for Britishers it is lift. For Americans it is eraser, for Britishers it is rubber. Look, the things are referring to the same meanings, but they are different, two different words, totally different words. One is the flashlight and the other is torch. One is the fries, the other is the chips. One is the gas and the other is petrol. See, gas and petrol. We have two different things. Although these two things, the gas and petrol, they are referring to the same one fuel in American and Britain. Whereas in Pakistan we have gas separate, we have petrol separately. Guy, chap or the block, these are different vocabulary items. Some more vocabulary items in American and Britishers. Highway, motorway, hood of a car, hood and the bonnet, okay, hood and bonnet. Jelly and jam, kerosene and paraffin, lawyer and solicitor, line, queue, mail, post, napkin and serviette, nothing, not, period and the full stops. Potato chips, they would call it crisps. Truck and the lorry, trunk and the boot, vacation and the holiday. Holiday according to Britishers and vacation according to Americans. Windshield and windscreen, pharmacist and chemist. Okay, pharmacist according to Americans and chemist according to Britishers. There are some more vocabulary items. Americans and British English speakers often use the same words but intend very different meanings with them. They are, the word is biscuit. American would call it a dinner roll, whereas British would call it a cookie. Great, it's a dinner roll for the Americans. The word is brew. It means beer for Americans, and for Britishers it's a tea. Oh my goodness. The word bureau. For Americans it's a chest of drawers. For Britishers it's writing table or the desk. Casket. For Americans it's coffin. For British it's a jewelry box. Oh my goodness. See what a great difference is there. The word first floor. And American it's ground floor, and British is the second floor. To hire in American it is to employ, and in British it is to rent. There's a link is given, you can look at some more of the examples. Vocabulary differences are because of the lexical differences, social and cultural differences, and idiosyncratic differences. Lexical differences, as you have already seen that there are so many, the differences that are found at the word level. You have already gone through these vocabulary differences, so I'm not going to repeat it again. Social and cultural differences. Take vocabulary of education between American and British English for instance. These differences in the area of education are mainly reflected on the fields of school, university, and some general terms. Here we have got a table which is a comparison on, of the namings of the school years in the British, except Scotland and American English. Okay. Look, this is a table of the years that they are, for example, the student of 8 to 9 years, for age is the junior 4 or the 3rd grade, junior 5, junior 6, then they come to secondary school, and then they come to middle school or the junior high school. In key stage 3 and key stage 4, there is a 6th optional, then there is a high school, junior high school, secondary school. These are different schools that they are regarded in the educational system as well. From the table we may discover that the secondary school in the United States also includes middle school or the junior school. Yes, there is actually a schooling system. There are perhaps no more, they don't call it colleges, they more call it schools, and junior school and the middle school. Apart from the differences in the ways of naming school years, the definitions of a public school are also different in the two countries. The main definitions and the main things are also different. Some equivalent idioms have the same meanings but show differences in appearance between British English and the American English. Stress was also different in American and the British English. There are some of the examples that are given. For example, if in British English a sentence is sweep under the carpet, in American sweep under the rug. Touch wood, knock on the wood. See the wood for the trees in British English, see the forest for the trees. Throw a spanner, throw a wrench. A home, a skeleton in the cupboard, skeleton in the closet. They would American English they would call it closet rather than the cupboard. A home for home, a home for home. A home away from home in American English. A drop in the ocean, a drop in the bucket. Storm in a teacup, tempest in the teapot. Flogging a dead horse, beating a dead horse. Lie of the land, lay of the land. A great difference in even the proverbs of these languages as well. Now we are coming towards the conclusion of our today's lecture, and from our study we have learned the exact difference between American English and British English, and as a second language speaker of English, more people after American English rather than the British English right now these days. A quick recapitulation of what we have done today. In this lecture, we have looked at the major differences in the American and the British English. These differences were looked at from the four major perspectives. The first was that of spellings. We have looked at the spellings, at how the spellings are different. Pronunciations, we have looked at how the pronunciations are different. We have looked at some of the vocabulary items. Although they are meaning at the same thing, yet there are the two main different words that are used. Then the grammatical items are also very, very different. There is a difference in the use of the tenses as well in British and the American English. Yes. While in our lecture I have asked you a question that what is actually the English that we are following in our country. We have always been, being the descendants of Britishers, we have always been following British English, but with the progress of America, our trends are changing these days, and we have started following more of American English than the British English. And with this, today I will end up this lecture, and hope to see you back in the next lecture. Till then, please take very good care of yourself, and please keep studying the things, keep reading the things in very, very detail, and see you again in the next lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.